I find the best position for sitting is just with your buttocks kind of half on the inflatable part and half on the beam.
Yes, so before we can look at getting out on the water, what we need to find first is a good venue for sailing. First thing we're looking for is a nice, easy sloping beach, if at all possible. And if possible, the beach really wants to be a sandy beach or perhaps small stones so that you can put your boat on the water's edge and then slide it in. Second thing we're looking for with our location is to not have too much going on out on the water. So we don't want to be launching straight in to a load of boats on moorings or boats at anchor or other obstacles, perhaps a fishing competition. So this is a perfect situation here. And thirdly, the ideal is to have water that isn't moving. We don't want tide, we don't want waves. That is going to make our first time out much easier. Most important thing for sailing, the wind. So what we're looking for with the wind for our first time out is we want it to be coming from an onshore direction. That means blowing from out at sea, coming back to where we're launching from. Anything from cross shore on one side to cross shore on the other side will be good. But what we're wanting to avoid is wind that is coming from offshore, because if we've got an offshore wind, if anything goes wrong, we're just going to get blown further away from where we launched. The second thing with the wind is we do want it to be quite stable. So we don't want it to feel like there's nothing and then for there to be big gusts of wind coming through. We want a stable wind. Ideally between 5 and 8 knots. Doesn't sound like a very big window, but you do get these conditions more often than you'd think in most locations.
Okay, so we've got the sails up on the Minicat. We have found the perfect day. We've got probably at the moment only 4 knots, but it's always better to go with less wind rather than more, especially on your first time out. Now, this is how I would suggest having the boat prepared before you put it in the water. So we've got the sails up, the jib is rolled, and we haven't got the main sheet attached. Before we put the boat into the water, we're going out solo here. All we're going to do, the only difference we're going to make is making sure that it's not twisted. We're going to clip the main sheet on just there, one stage closer to actually being in the water. Okay, so the plastic skegs on the Minicat are very durable, so even on this stony beach we can slide the boat in. I wouldn't do it if it was a spiky stony beach, if there's anything spiky around, but on here we're quite happy as long as it's not too far. And once we get into the water, there we go, she's just sitting in the water there. I'm just going to come round and grab the boat at the front. At the front of the boat is where we have the most control when we're holding it. So holding the boat at the front as much as we can. Now before we head out, it's a good idea just to take note of any potential dangers in your sailing area. Like for here, we've got over in this direction, there's a ferry, other boats and the harbour. So we want to stay clear of that area. To gauge which way the wind is blowing, we can look at the easiest thing we've got here is there's a moored yacht, and the way that that boat is pointing is going to be into the wind. Now we can see that the wind is coming slightly from the right, like here, which means our ideal course for setting off is going to be over to the left. So I'm going to walk the boat more over to the right, just so we have a bit more space from these obstructions over here. We've got some moored boats on our left-hand side. So the more space that you have, the better it's going to be. All right, now we've got some space. Next thing we need to do is just pop the rudder. Maybe you haven't got enough depth to put it all the way down, but release the line that holds it up, then get back to the front of the boat so we're still holding the boat nicely. You'll notice we don't have the jib out. This is just going to create more confusion on your first time out, so we're just going with the mainsail. We just need to work out how we're going to get onto the boat. So I think I'm going to grab hold of this handle here, maybe the tow strap in the middle, and just jump off the bottom, get a leg up. The boat's already turning. So then I'm going to grab the stick, the tiller extension, as soon as I can. And then what we also want to have hold of is the main sheet. So stick is in the back hand like this, main sheet is in the front hand like this. And then if the boat's not really going, we'll then start to bring the main sheet in. And off we go. Okay, so we're going to start off, because the wind is blowing pretty much onshore, that's towards the beach, we're going to start off by sailing in an upwind direction. So what this means is we're going to be approximately 45 degrees to the wind. Now, we've fitted this boat with some rudimentary telltales, wind indicators, which are these pieces of old videotape which are flying from the shrouds. And what we're looking at on these is to have them at about 45 degrees. All right, but we're not going so well. So if I look up the mainsail, I can see that one of the battens, those are the plastic bits in the mainsail, is actually on the wrong side. So what we could do is just grab hold of the boom and just give it a pull. There we go. And now they're all on the same side. And then there we are. I find the best position for sitting is just with your buttocks kind of half on the inflatable part and half on the beam. So you're sort of going into this, the gap between there. It gives you a feeling of security. If you want to be more secure, you can put a foot under the tow strap on the trampoline. You'll notice I'm not right at the back of the boat. I'm a little bit further forwards. Okay, so now we're in water, which we know is deep enough. We've got plenty of space. We just want to set the rudder in the down position properly. So what we're going to do is just stop the boat, which we'll do by just literally letting the sail out all the way. And then at the back here, we're making sure, before we look at the rudder, we're making sure that there's no obstructions or anything we can hit, making sure the boat isn't turning back towards the beach. So we'll take the line that holds the rudder down, we'll pull it tight, and then we'll pop it in this cleat underneath the tiller arm here. And then what I like to do is just put one tie around the tiller arm, which will just make sure that that's not going to come undone. And now we're ready to start sailing again. So we'll pull the mainsail in, watching these wind indicators, keeping them on 45 degrees. Okay, there we go. And now we're ready for our first tack. A tack is when we're going to change from having the wind on this side of the boat to having the wind on the other side of the boat. So we're going to turn through the wind. So we just need to make sure that our direction is good, 45 degrees there on the telltales, that the main sheet is reasonably tight. And what we can do is then push the rudder away, and now you see the boat's turning. When we get to the point where we're pointing into the wind, we'll let the main sheet off, and then when the boom starts coming towards you, we can then move across the boat to the other side. And then we're just going to again take the stick or tiller extension in our backhand. We're going to look forwards, and then when we're there, we're just going to start bringing the mainsail in again. Nice. And I think we'll do that again. So, just move this telltale a little bit so we can see it. Telltale on 40 degrees. Something else we should do is just check that there's nothing over here. This is where we're going to be turning to. So we want to check there's nothing we're going to hit or get in the way of or anything. And then when we're ready, we've got the main sheet in reasonably tight. We're going to push the rudder reasonably hard across. Watch the boat turning. Sometimes it takes a little bit of time, so we just have to give it time. And then when the boom starts coming over towards you, obviously make sure it's not going to hit you. And then we can move across the boat, get into our new position, pick up the main sheet, stick in the backhand again, and off we go. Okay, so our course, what we want to sail on our first time out is we want to sail, we're going to have to sail upwind a bit to get away from the beach, but then we just want to sail across the wind. So if the wind is coming from here, out at sea, we're just sailing across the wind. Another good way of knowing the wind direction is if we look at the small waves that are coming towards us. Again, this is with no current or anything. These small waves are going to be coming in the direction of the wind. Okay, now we've got this hazard in front of us, which is a harbour wall. The ferry isn't there at the moment, but we don't want to go any closer. So we're going to do another tack. So again, we're just checking for 45 degrees on the telltales. We need the main sheet a little bit more in. And then we're going to push the rudder quite hard away. Watch the boat turn through the wind. Give it a bit of time, because what happens is the wind will catch the front of the boat on the other side. Boom's coming towards us. So now we can move across. As we move across, just be careful not to let the rudder centralise or go the other way until we start moving nicely on the new tack. Okay. And what's usually a good idea is when you cross the boat, to cross the boat facing the back. Okay. When we're going back towards the beach, because we were sailing upwind to get away from the beach, we're going to be sailing downwind to get back to the beach. On our downwind point of sail, we're going to again be watching our wind indicators, and on the downwind we want these going kind of straight across the boat, and we want the mainsail loose. Right, just got some small waves there. And then on the downwind, if we have to move from one side to the other, so if we wanted to turn this corner to go that way, we'd have to do what we call gybing. And with the jibe, what we're going to do is we're actually going to put the tiller extension onto the new side first, and then we're going to come into the middle of the boat, concentrating on our course, and we're going to push the rudder back to where we were sitting. So we're going to turn this way, hold on to the main sheet here, because this is going to let you know when the boom's coming across. Bit of tension in there. I can feel it going slack. So as soon as it comes across, then we want to sit down on the new side and look forwards again. Okay, so we're just going to do that again. Tiller extension to the new side, concentrating on our course. We're then going to push, holding on to the main sheet, nice and slow, Get ready to duck down low for the boom. And by holding the main sheet like that, we're just going to stop it from absolutely crashing across the boat, which could cause, well, if it hits you in the head, you're certainly going to know about it. If you want to get hold of some of the great gear that I'm using, 3 big pieces of kit that I absolutely love. One is the Sun God sunglasses. Yes, check them out. All the links are in the description below. Another one, I've loved these since I've started using them. These are Zero Shoes Aqua Pro X. Very nice. Yeah, really good. Barefoot shoes, excellent traction, good on the beach, on land, anywhere at all, good on the boat. Yeah, and I think that's all for now. Let's go back to the beach. Okay, so with the wind direction, I can see now by looking at the boat on the mooring that the wind is now coming more from the left, which means we want to approach from the opposite side. So if it's coming from the left, we want to sail away from that side, and that'll be easier to stop the boat. If it's directly on shore, then either way is fine. Do check out the other videos I've made on approaching the beach. This will go into more detail. So we want to get over there, so we're going to have to do one more jibe. So here we go. Stick goes to the new side. Turning, going into the middle of the boat, holding the main sheet, and we're just guiding it across so we know exactly when it's coming across. There we go. And then we can sit on the new side. And we're just entering into the shallow water here. So I'm just going to take the rope from the rudder out of the cleat. So if we do touch the bottom, that is just going to, the rudder's just going to come into the up position. All right, and our aim is to get back to exactly the same spot that we set off from. And then we're going to need to stop the boat before we hit the beach. So to stop the boat, we're going to turn up into the wind. All right, so we're getting close. And we don't want to stop too soon because the water might be quite deep. All right, now we can turn the boat up into the wind. And then we want to get off the boat and hold it. So I'm just going to turn around, legs over the side, and then plop in. And then we're holding the boat. Nice, we made it. All right, now this is the tricky bit because we need to get the rudder into that up position, but keep the boat pointing into the wind at the same time. So what we're going to do, and this is only recommended in the light winds like this, so we're going to go to the back of the boat, and we're just going to focus on keeping the boat pointing into the wind like this. So like that, and that means we're in the right spot for fixing the rudder. So I'm going to take the blue line, which on this boat, no, the red line, beg your pardon. I'm going to lift the rudder blade, pull the red line, put it into the cleat, and I do find, oh, we're wandering, so I just have to turn the boat back into the wind a bit. And I do find with the line that holds the rudder up, it does have a habit of jumping out. So while we focus on keeping the boat into wind like this, this is good to practice how you're going to do this on land a little bit. I'm just tying a knot around the tiller just to make sure that does stay up. And now we're just going to look for the nicest looking bit of beach that we can. Going to go back to a more sensible position. Just forwards of the front beam is fine. And to get downwind from this position towards the beach, we might have to turn this way a bit. and then turn back into the wind. And then I'm just going to push the boat backwards until the back of the boat touches the bottom. Nice. Now, if you're lucky enough to have a support crew with you, maybe your family, friends, children, anyone, dog walkers, you could then recruit somebody to give you a hand. But if you are alone, we just want to push the boat far enough that it's not going to move. Work our way down the hull. We just want to make sure it does stay pointing into the wind. And then we can grab the back beam. So we're going to lift the back of the boat up high as we can. And we're going to walk backwards up the beach. And then when the boat is no longer floating, whoa, she wants to go back in. We're just going to grab hold, pull it, step back a little bit, pull it again, step back a little bit, pull it again. And then once she's on the top, then we're happy and we've done it. First time out, success. So there we go. That was the condensed what to do on your first time out on your Minicat or similar type of boat. There will be other videos. Subscribe to Joyrider TV so you will see the new videos as they come out. We're doing a lot with the Minicat at the moment. It's a great boat, really like it. If you've just bought one, well done. I think this could be a real life-changing thing to have at your disposal.